Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hello guys, welcome back to Heavy Metal Tones. This is the last one for this year. I hope you had a great Christmas. It was fun, full of frivolity, full of heavy metal, full of music, full of laughter, and you had friends and family around you. Those that didn't, that were working, that were locked down, that were away, there's always going to be another time. There'll always be a future. So just look forward to that. I'm glad that you had a good time, those that did. I really enjoyed the 7 dates of Noel. I hope you enjoyed listening to them. Quite a fun experiment. It did very well in the numbers. I thank you very much. It's one of the most successful things I've done so far in this podcast. I just want to say thank you to everyone that's listened this year. This will be the last one for the year. So thank you. I'm really very, very humble that you've come along on the ride with me. This little old guy from Canberra in Australia, middle of nowhere really, listening. I mean, I've got listeners all over the world. I mean, a lot in America, though. I've got one listener that's constantly listening every month outside of Australia, in Broadman in the USA, if I've said that right. If you're listening to this episode, hey, whoever you are, thanks for listening regularly. Do send me an email at heavymetaltones@gmail.com and say hello. But anyway, this week's episode, I had already recorded one for the end of the year, and I'm going to probably do that next week actually now for a look back. So I've was talking to a work colleague, a friend of mine, and he sort of mentioned some things, and I thought, yeah, this is a good idea. So he bought me a 6-pack of Monteith's Black. It's a New Zealand dark ale, and everyone knows me, I know I love my dark ale. So I'm sitting here with my dark ale by my side, and what we're just talking about was, and I'm going to describe it as a rose by any other name. He's sort of he's not into his metal. He likes Tool and a few things here and there, but nothing particularly out there. And he got onto the Iron Maiden fervor earlier in the year when they released Senjutsu. And he said to me today he clearly didn't think it was very good, and he thought that it was a bit drab and it wasn't what he was expecting from Iron Maiden. And so, which made me think about albums and bands and music we say we love, but do we really? Is it because it's the band? Is it our emotional connection with the band, or the singer or guitarist, or is it genuinely we're sitting down and subjectively listening to the music? Now, you may or may not know that I review for the metal website Heavy Metal Ruse. It's an Australian metal web magazine. I am the head of the review team. I'm a bit lax recently because of the New Year and Christmas, and so I have to be subjective when I review. But do I do that with music that I listen to on a daily basis? I'm not quite sure. If you came to me 20 years ago and gave me Saint Anger, wrapped it in a plain paper and said, listen to this, tell me what you think. Glug, glug. That's not very nice, is it? Just for those people with ASMR might like it. Those people that have issues, I'm sorry. Anyway, would you like it? And I have to honestly say, I probably would listen to it differently. Do I think it's the worst album ever made? It's one of them. Do I think that it's their worst album? Definitely not. This is Metallica, by the way. People that don't know what I'm talking about. It's Anger by Metallica. It's got a checkered past. Everyone knows about it if they're into this genre. I don't really want to go explaining. It was released. Well, I might. Look, it was released 20 odd years ago to a lot of fanfare, and it stunk. Nothing. I don't know what they were doing, what Lars was doing, but he decided he wasn't going to record his hi-hats and things like that. It just seemed to disappear, and it was fudgy mix, and lost, very unfocused, and just not really the same material you expect from a band that made Kill 'Em All or Ride the Lightning. It just isn't, and I absolutely adore Ride the Lightning. It's one of my favourite albums of all time. So it's very strange they made this dirgy rubbish, but at the same time, Maiden were making Blur albums as well around that time. So, but what I'm talking about is, if you gave it to me in a blank paper and said, Tony, listen to this, I'm not going to tell you what it is, you might guess it, but I just want you to listen to what you think, and I probably would have given it a different listen. So what this conversation is about today is would we go into things like, okay, Benji and I came together and bonded together, as you found out in the last few episodes ago, over the band Ghost. Now I'm an early adopter of that band. I came in very early when the guys at Metallica were saying, Hetfield was saying this is the next best band, and what's his name from Slayer hated them, and I was like, okay, right, I'm going to get and listen. That was really tricky at the time to hunt the music down, but I fell in love with it. That mixture of the Blue Oyster Cult, classic heavy metal, the dark but satanic themes, but with a sort of like a pop sensibility and artwork, like my favourite horror movie, which is the horror TV program, which is Salem's Lot, and it was just, I loved it, and I couldn't get enough of them. And then the next album, Infantissimum, and so on, until suddenly they became this Swedish pop band that really were sort of almost as if embarrassed to be a metal band. Really, they just want to play ABBA. No, that's not wrong. That's commendable. I love ABBA, but not when I'm trying to mix it with my heavy metal. Anyway, where I was coming from was that you've got it's very difficult when you love something to then, when you hear something that's not quite right, to really be honest with yourself. I think that's where I lost track slightly, sorry, but that was where I was coming from. Benji is that, he loves their stuff, but then would that later stuff, if you wrapped it in a different package, would he like it? I doubt it, actually, because it's not the kind of music he'd listen to, but he probably wouldn't know it was Ghost, right? It was different with Metallica. So what I'm talking about here is, I think that we should all attempt to think of an album in our lives, be subjective with it, and to think to yourself, honestly, would you go, that's the best album I've ever heard, that's their best piece of music? Is it the fridge magnet phenomena, which a friend of mine once coined, where your kid comes home with a picture, it's awful, but you put it on the fridge because it's theirs, and then they think it's amazing because you've put it up there, so everything they do is amazing, and everything your child does is amazing. That's not necessarily true, is it? So is it the fridge magnet phenomena, where just because it's their name on the bottom of it, or their name across the spine of the book, or their name on the record, that instantly it's going to be good? I mean, this, honestly, people, think to yourself, is there any of you out there, deeply, honestly, look inwardly and say, pick an album and go, yeah, maybe, Tony, I was right. maybe I was wrong. Maybe this album is rubbish. And conversely, ones that you said are rubbish and you would go nowhere near, you might actually like. I mean, I have never listened to a Nickelback album. I can't stand the thought of it. But is it because it's Nickelback, or like Limp Bizkit, or one of those awful new metal things, or is it because of my prejudice over maybe one or two songs, or maybe even their back catalogue, you know, their persona? I really think that we might be onto something here, guys. We might be through the looking glass. I think what we should do is in the new... Oh, that was my knuckles. Yeah. Oh, hear that? Sorry. More beer, one moment. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe we have to choose an album that we adore, or even think we do, because we all have ones we think we do, and listen to it subjectively. Like I had a guy that reviewed for us only recently, and he was just very negative, and angry, and it wasn't what direction of the band he loved it was going. And I said, walk away, review it, or let it go. If you can't be subjective, don't review it. If you're going to be angry, walk away. Now, emotions are good, and I want that from you guys. I want you to pick an album that creates emotion to listen to and go, is it right? Did I really like it? Be honest with yourself. And there's also conversely, pick an album. I really urge you out there to pick an album that you're going to listen to, that you would walk away from normally and say, did I like it? Was there a moment in that record that was worth me listening to the whole 40-50 minutes? It's not a lot of time in your life to give away. You can do it while you're working and doing other things, going for your run, going for your walk, at work, working from home, whatever you're doing. Because I truly think that I'm very open-minded with my musical taste. I've said this before on the podcast, but there are times when I think I'm close-minded. And I think when it comes to the genre of metal, being so many subgenres, do we close our minds off? I mean, I've said before, I absolutely hated black metal for a long time because I felt it was impenetrable and non-musical and atonal and just too harsh. But then I took the time and gave it a listen and found the beauty in it, and found the musicality in it, and found the tones in it. So it's out there to be done. When we come back after the break, I might talk about some of the genres that I'm going to attempt to do, some of the albums that I have been blinded by, and I think some of the albums that I might look into that I would have walked away from before. So get a piece of paper, pen up during this break. Pause it, write down some albums that you think go back and revisit them. Things that ones you wouldn't touch, go and visit them. And then honestly, I'd really love you to reach out. Now on Spotify now, you can actually give me a rating on Spotify, the 3 dots above the episode. You can now rate them. I'd love some feedback. Feedback makes my podcast grow. If you love the podcast, give me a star rating. It doesn't matter if it's 1 to 5. I'm not going to be bleat. If it's 1, it's your opinion, but it does make the podcast grow. It gives me more audience share. Same with iTunes, and come and visit me on my Facebook page at New Album and All Things Metal, and also email at heavymetaltones@gmail.com and give me some feedback. I know our time is poor, but we're heading into a new year. I want to keep doing this. I really love doing it. I'm glad you're listening. Anyway, coming to the end of the first half now, I'm going to pour myself another beer. I promise I won't crack my knuckles next time. That was a bit silly, wasn't it, really? Anyway, and we'll chat about what I feel I want to do, or the albums that I think I need to listen to, and then we should reconvene in a few weeks' time and make notes and see how we felt about those albums. Anyway, see you on the other side. Pour yourself a drink, Catch you soon.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Welcome back, guys. I'm glad you liked the little bit of advert music, sorry, middle music there. That's by Joseph from Pure Envy. I've told you before, he's a Newcastle-based thrash metal band. New album coming out soon. Brilliant guitarist. He also is the head of the metal guitar school. I'd highly recommend going to them if you want to learn guitar. I'll put a link in the show description below. What he can't teach and what he doesn't know, you can put on the back of a stamp. Anyway, back to the show. Yeah, sip of beer, sorry. Well, it is Christmas. I think I deserve it. Whisper, whisper. Anyway, so what we're talking about? We're talking about albums that I want to revisit with different eyes. Okay, good. I'm going to be brutally honest here. Absolutely brutally honest. Anything with Maiden's name on, apart from a couple, I will always listen to. Now, I don't own, I've told this before way back early in the podcast, those if you've never listened to the first episode, you probably find out, I don't own any of the Blaze Bayley era albums. I don't own Factor X, and I don't own X Factor, sorry, and I don't own Virtual Real. Anyway, pardon my French. I just put up there. Oh, that's terrible. Sorry guys. Anyway, I'm not editing it. You know me. It's what you hear is what you get. Anyway, I don't know those two albums, and I'm going to make an effort and go and listen back at the Blaze Bayley era Iron Maiden albums. I know some of the songs I quite like. There's a couple of songs in that particular album, and those particular albums. Sorry, it's Virtual 11. It's been a long day. Pardon me. Released in 1998. It's the first one. Future Real, Angel and a Gambler, Lightning Strikes Twice, The Klansman, which is Benji's favourite. Educated Fool, Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger, Como Esta Amigo. I mean, these are songs I honestly don't know. I don't think I've ever played Virtual 11 all the way through. Again, this harks straight back to what I was saying at the beginning. Completely truthful that I didn't go and listen to them because it wasn't Bruce Dickinson. I wasn't interested. Now, that's a real bad thing, isn't it? Because Blaze Bayley, genuinely, who was a Wolfbane originally, is a great singer. Was he the right person for the band? He probably was. And you know what? Had we as a Maiden community embraced him, he may have done right. Now, of course, Maiden without Bruce is like gin without tonic. It's like, I don't know, fish without chips, or whatever you think of. It's not quite the same, okay? It just isn't. It leaves a sort of, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the Diano albums, but that's a different Maiden story. Anyway, so those two albums, that one and X Factor with Sign of the Cross, brilliant song, really. Lord of the Flies, Man on the Edge, Fortunes of War, Look to the Truth, The Aftermath, Judgment of Heaven, Blood on the World's Hands, Edge of Darkness, 2 a.m. and The Unbeliever. Right, 1 hour and 11 minutes. I am going to sit back over the next couple of days and I'm going to listen to those 2 albums, and I'm going to give you a genuinely honest Heavy Metal Tones review of those 2 albums, because I honestly don't know them well enough. Which is really, again, I look back and I feel quite embarrassed by that fact. It's like the same as Queen. The Queen albums, when, without Freddie, would I listen to them? Millions of people do. I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's like the Judas Priest albums without, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I mean, I know that they're great albums, but Judas Priest without Rob Halford is just, I don't know. Anyway, so they're the 2 albums first I'm thinking of that I want to think back on and go, I didn't give them a go. I'm going to give them a go. And if I'm going to do a podcast about, reviews and music and subjectivity, I need to be subjective. Albums that I have put up and said are the greatest albums I've ever listened to, that I sometimes go, is it the name? That's a tougher call, because most of the times I've lived with them. I'm going to say probably, now this is going to shock you, I think, guys, but I'm probably going to say Genesis is The Lambs Lies Down on Broadway. I think it's the best piece of music ever written by a progressive band. But am I listening to it and saying that's the case because it is, or is it because my deep love for Genesis? With in parentheses, not the Phil Collins years. Is it? So I'm going to sit back and listen to that again and give you my genuine opinion. I mean, you can't ask me. I listen to The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway once a month. I have done for the last 20 years, more. So it's not like it's something I won't enjoy doing. But am I listening to it because I love the genesis of Peter Gabriel, or is it because it genuinely is a great album? Another one that comes to mind that, I don't know if it's my, again, blinded by, as I said, Rose by Any Other Name, blinded by the band, my love for the band, or genuinely is it a great album? And this might shock you as well, but Killing Joke's Pandemonium. Okay, I'm going to do a Killing Joke episode one day. They are spectacularly amazing. I will always love them. They are the originators of industrial metal. Pandemonium came out in '94. I just met my then-to-be wife, soon-to-be wife, sorry. I loved Killing Joke. It was heavy and industrial and aggressive. Great tracks on like Pandemonium and Jana, and I hold it up there as one of their best albums. Now, is it because it's the time that the album was released? Is it because I went and saw them on that tour several times? Is it because I connect it emotionally to my wife and know my wife, meeting Karen? Or is it because it generally is a good album? So these are things I want you to do. Get a bit of paper, write 2 or 3 albums in the, would never listen to normally, or the albums I love the most. Make a little column next to that. Make notes like why you think you love them, why you would hate them. And then when you've listened to them and come back to it, has those words you've written on that page influenced you? I'm really excited to see if it does it for me. I never thought about it that way. I never thought that you could be emotionally influenced about music that you may listen to. And, you know, as I said earlier in the podcast, you know, the Nickelback syndrome. Do we hate Nickelback, or do I hate Nickelback because of what they are, or because of their music, or because of the band members? It's difficult, isn't it? It's like Slipknot. Would I ever own a Slipknot album? No, not in a million years. Should I sit down and listen to one of their albums and actually give them some genuine time? There's another one that will be in my calling. I'm sure there's a Slipknot album now. I couldn't name you any at the moment, but I'm sure there's one there that I could pick out, sit down, give it the 45 minutes, and see if I subjectively, I might, you know, because this might open our eyes, guys. Can you imagine? I want everyone out there's horizons to be broadened. A good example is my dear friend John, one of my closest friends in all the world. Him and I have been to many progressive rock concerts. We love talking about music. He's got music in his soul, which makes him an angel in my eyes. And the thing is, he listens to this podcast, and if I said to him, go and listen to some Behemoth, he'd go and listen to it. He's that open-minded, and I really admire that of him. And I think this is what I want us to be, and all our listeners to be. Because how can you be subjective if you don't give it an option? It's better to be subjective than reactive. You know, it's better to react to something in a bad way and be subjective about it. You know, so as I said, in a couple of weeks' time, I'll get back to this podcast. I'll revisit it. So for me, it will be revisiting the albums. I've mentioned the two Iron Maiden albums, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, and Pandemonium by Killing Joke. They're the ones that come to the top of my mind. I'm sure there are many others. There are some that are sainted that I wouldn't touch, like Nevermind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols, Rocket to Ruin by the Ramones. You know, they're just some albums that you Mind Bomb by the just albums I wouldn't touch, that I just will always be perfect. I'm sure that, again, this comes back to my thing. Should I go back to them? Am I emotionally connected to it in a different way than I should be? I probably am. Disraeli Gears by Cream, The Who by Numbers by The Who. All these albums that I'm historically and emotionally connected to. Does that make them important albums? Are they good albums to my ear? So guys, make that list. As I said, one column for why you wouldn't listen to it. Then make notes. Say, hey, how did you feel? Have a never bother listening to one column, and stuff you love emotionally and connected to, and make notes of why you're emotionally connected to it. No one likes homework, but it's this fun thing to do. It might be something you can do with mates, you know, on Facebook blogs, just in general, and see how you come out. It doesn't have to be metal, guys. We listen to lots of music. It could be pop. Like I said in my 7 Dates of Noel, you know, there's lots of stuff I listen to that isn't, you know, Julian Cope. I'm extremely connected to that song because of my father bought it as my very first single he ever bought for me, and he wasn't a music man. So, but does that mean I love that song for that reason? Could I hate it? No, I don't. I love it. It's probably to do with my emotional connections. So, do like the old Pepsi and Coke challenge. Give it a go. Choose 2 or 3 you hate, or you think you would hate. 2 or 3 you think you know, but you know, you deep down in your soul, you know you're connected emotionally to, and give them a re-listen and see what happens. And hopefully, just hopefully, we expand our horizons more going into 2022. Anyway, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for a great year. Thanks for listening. I've had so much fun doing it. I've learned so much. Thanks for my daughter Clementine for doing the artwork for me. She's really clever little bunny, that one. Thanks for Joseph for doing the music and helping with the recording process. Thanks for the support from Benji and from Matt and from John and from Millsy and all the people, my lovely wife Karen, who's behind me all the way, and everyone behind me. If I've missed a name, I'm sorry. But anyway, talk to you next year. Have a great new year. If you're going to do it, drink loads, drink sensibly. If you're not, have a great... You don't need to drink to have fun. Have a good time. See the new year in. Let's hope this effing virus pisses off and we can all just get back to the nuts and bolts of life: love, family, music, and peace. Anyway, that's my little philosophical ending. Thanks, guys. Remember, like and subscribe. Give me a review on Spotify if you're on there. Now that you can do it on iTunes, it does help me. And we'll chat soon. Bye, guys.